again, man. I'm not the brains of this operation, man. All right, brother. What's going on, son?
Cheers. Nostrovia.
Oh, brother, I tell you what, man. When I put this out there, who should I have a cold beer and talk college football with? Nobody got tagged more than you did. Steven Garcia in the house. What's going on, brother?
Oh man, same old shit, different pile, you know?
Oh,
We
man.
we like I told you earlier, man, we just got done with Nick Umaniori, the guy that just dominated the combine. And yeah, man, I'll tell you what, this podcast shit, it's not easy, you know?
No, you just thought you could just plug your phone up and
Yeah,
go, you know?
no, man, there's so much more work and detail and time that needs to go into it. So,
Yeah.
respect, man. Cheers.
Yeah, well, hey, respect to you, brother. I mean, when I think of, somebody asked me the other day, I think the conversation came up about Johnny Football, and they kept saying, how wild he was. And I said, brother, the wildest man in college football lived in South Carolina for a while. So I just love what the game is, what the game's become, and the evolution of quarterback. It's just changed year after year. And it's not like the old days. And I wanted to ask you, with that evolution, has the window officially closed for another fat quarterback in the SEC?
Probably. And I
So it's
hate to
just,
say I hate to say it, but I mean that's just the way the game's going with the shorter, kind of shiftier guys,
yeah.
stronger dudes. It's yeah. You're not gonna see many me or rest in peace Jared Lorenzen out there anymore.
No, absolutely, brother.
You want to talk about a guy that can absolutely crush beers, or
Yes.
like I said, God rest his soul. But Jared Lorenzen, I'm a Kentucky basketball fan. My mom's side of the family's all up there, so we used
Hmm.
to go to Rupp all the time, man. But he would come down to Tampa every now and then. If we, do some work together or whatever. This
Yeah.
guy made me look like a amateur when it came to drinking beer, and I consider myself a pretty good drinker. That guy could just throw him back.
Now, where was this at again?
He
Where
would
did
come
you,
down to Tampa to do
yeah.
some events for a one of the beer distributors that were that's down here in Tampa.
Yeah. Well, I would love to. That's one guy I wish I could have had a cold beer with. I mean, I did idolize him. I was a big Tennessee fan, obviously, with all this orange behind me. But Jared Lorenzen always had a special place in my heart because he did what most of us couldn't do. We didn't flag football, but when it came to real football, we just never really got that opportunity.
I mean I mean he could dunk the basketball. He was the
He was
most
an athlete.
oh
Yeah.
shit, absolutely incredible athlete. Um, yeah, it's a shitty thing that happened to him, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of amazing athletes, I'm talking to one right now, and did a little research before I jumped on here. Top 100 recruit, and that's always been one of my, I guess, that intrigued me the most was just the whole recruiting process. And I don't know if it's because I watched Blue Chips and the program and all that, but how many offers did you have when you officially left Florida?
I'll tell you what, it's interesting you brought that up. So I have a son who's a junior. He's going to senior year. He just
Hmm.
transferred to the same high school that I went to, Jefferson High School, down here in Tampa. And so my mom's like, "Hey, I got all this Jefferson stuff," and so, anyways, I go through like one of the binders, and it's all the letters and offers and basically communications from college coaches back then,
Yeah.
because nowadays they just text and call or send DMs. But I mean, I want to say there was like 38 total offers from
Yeah.
schools. And it's kind of cool that I can show my son that, like, hey man, like your dad wasn't some slapdick. I mean, I actually I could play some ball back in the day. Um, but yeah, I mean the whole recruiting cycle is so different nowadays.
Yeah. No, I was we talked to Ron Slay at SEC Media Days, and I asked him, he was pissed because, the headband. He had an opportunity. He didn't have the NIL opportunity these kids are going to have coming into college these days. But what was like the craziest recruiting pitch you heard while you were down there?
Uh, I mean, we didn't really. Nowadays, you can offer somebody a lot of money to come out of
Yeah,
high school to be on your squad. Um, Obviously, back then we couldn't do anything. I had to pay to, move my. That's a different story. But
right.
I think like the reason I went to South Carolina was this was my favorite pitch was Coach Spurrier was like, look, you can go to Florida, you can go to Oklahoma, go to Tennessee, go to Notre Dame, go to Southern Cal. All these teams have history of winning. They got a rich tradition. Or you can come to South Carolina where historically we've been shitty, you know, and kind of create your own history and your
Yeah.
own tradition and stuff like that. And I'm like, that sounds pretty damn cool. And I talk with Pat and all the guys that we have on our own podcast, and he said that same pitch to all of them, and I like to think that we did accomplish that. Obviously, my road was a little bit bumpier than everybody else, but that's what makes it great, man. That's what made it fun.
What'd you have, like 5 suspensions up there? Is that what
Uh,
the
yeah,
total number was? Yeah.
5, and then ultimately, kicked off.
Yeah. Well, let me on that note though, because times are changing. If I don't know, I'm not going to pry into the situations or anything like that. But if whatever those issues were happened in 2025, would you have been suspended or would it have been fine?
If they would have suspended me, I would have said, okay, fine, that's fine. You already got paid with the NIL. I'm gonna go. This other guy's offering me $2 million. I'm gonna go over there. That's suspend me again.
Yeah,
I don't
I
care.
got you.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you what, I think that's something. We had Coach Spur on our podcast. We had Coach Ray Tanner, who is now the athletic director at South Carolina, or just retired. But he's like, you never did anything. You weren't beating girls. You weren't getting in fights. You weren't
yeah.
drunk driving. You weren't doing anything. You were just being a normal college kid. And and Coach Tanner, who's the athletic director, he's like, if I would have been the athletic director when you were there, you would have been
Mhm.
suspended one time, and then you would have got your shit together.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have done what you were doing, and who knows? But yeah, this day and age, man, like you get suspended, it's like whatever. I don't care. This other team's offering me more money anyway, so
Yeah.
see you
Well, I
later.
think about it. I mean, hell, when we were kids, nobody had phones, and if
Right.
they had phones, shit, hell, we'd probably still be behind bars. You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
telling you, man.
It's like, I feel bad for these guys because now everybody's got a Ring camera, everybody's got an iPhone. It's
You
like
can't do
you can't
anything,
get
man.
away for shit. Yeah,
No, I
man. Even
remember.
on
I remember the freaking iPhone came out my freshman year, 2007. My roommate Pat DeMarco, who I do the podcast with,
yeah.
his uncle is a professional golfer. Almost beat Tiger Woods for God's sakes at the Masters. Anyways, he comes in and he's got his iPhone. I'm like, oh my God, that's the coolest shit I've ever seen. You can touch it, like that's unreal. Uh, but yeah, I mean, you look at the camera; it's all pixelated. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would not have lasted as long as I did at South Carolina if we had today's technology. That's
No,
for
no,
sure.
hell no.
I would have
No.
been cooked.
So you were talking about the show. I saw it's now on YouTube. So
Yep.
tell our audience how they can find this podcast.
So it's Tailgate Talks 547. So my number, my old teammate Pat DeMarco's number. Yeah, we just kind of shooting the shit, and we're kind of keeping it a South Carolina base. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to get AJ McCarron's wanting to get on.
Yeah.
Aaron Murray, a couple of these other guys that like to get on. So it's just like I said, man, this podcast is a whole. It's a lot more work than I anticipated. I was just hoping to press record and send it out, but yeah, man,
That's kind of
it's fun. It's fun as shit, man. Getting a chance to like rekindle with Melvin Ingram, Alshon, Marcus
yeah.
Lattimore, Clowney. These other guys that I haven't had to talk. I live in Tampa. Pat's in Columbus,
Yeah.
so he sees those guys all the time. But getting a chance to kind of rekindle that friendship and talk with these guys, it's actually been really cool.
That's awesome, man. That's absolutely awesome. Oh shit. Well, oh, let's see. Where are we going here? I've got a list here. I've got. Man, I was up all night, man. I've never been starstruck, but there's just a guy. There's a couple of guys that I've had on the show, and it's just like, man, I get nervous, brother. And I've been doing this for a while, and I'm like, there's so many things I'd love to come over there. Maybe next time you're in Columbia, drink some real cold beer with you, and just shoot the shit. But I do want to ask, because when I do hear your name, everybody wants to talk about the Bama game. Everybody wants to talk about the Ole Miss game. But I want to talk about the game that keeps you up at night. What's the game that haunts you that you're like, shit, if I could go back and play that fucking game, I would do it this way?
Dude, that is such a great question. That's honestly the first time I've ever been asked that. Because like you said, everybody, that's all they want to talk about is the good stuff and
Yeah.
beating Florida down in the swamp, beating Bama, beating Ole Miss. Man, have a game back. I would say there's actually a few games. One of them would be the first game between the hedges, or not between the hedges, whatever the fuck they call Auburn's thing, Jordan O'Hare,
Yeah.
against Cam Newton in 2010, man. I was lighting it up and then I tried to scramble, fumbled, next drive, run again, the ball gets knocked out. Coach Spurrier ends up pulling me out. And so Connor Shaw goes in, he throws 2 picks. So we had 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter, and we ended up losing that game. And I was pretty pissed off that he took me out. But so that's a game that I wish I would have had back. The Florida State Chick-fil-A Bowl, I wish I would have had that back.
Yeah.
Um, just turnovers, man. I'm a gunslinger kind of guy,
Yeah.
as people can imagine. I modeled my game off Brett Favre, so if that tells you
Yeah.
anything. Um, and then I'll tell you what, and you'll appreciate this. The Tennessee game, there's nothing I really could have done. We were doomed from as soon as you guys came out with the all black uniforms on
Yeah. Yeah.
Halloween. As soon as you guys came out like that, the first time in school history, I looked out and I saw 110,000 people going nuts. I was like, oh boy, this could get ugly.
That was this? Is that, I guess, and this, I don't have this one on here, but is that one of the worst places to play? Like, which one? Like, I guess intimidation. Was there a stadium that you walked in, you're like, fuck, man, we got our hands full here?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Tennessee it's the biggest in the SEC for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember flying in and looking over and seeing those big ass yachts on the river and right by the like, good God, man, that looks so cool. And it's actually funny, man. Like I'm friends with Josh Heupel. He recruited me when he was at Oklahoma. He recruited one of the first kids I ever started training when he was a head coach at UCF. Uh, I still talk to him to this day. It's pretty cool. But yeah, Tennessee was definitely nerve-wracking to say the least. Um, Florida was also kind of crazy. I mean, they're all so big.
Yeah.
You never really get that overwhelmed, especially as you get older and you play in those games. But yeah, when you first go out there, it's pretty intimidating.
Yeah. Well, hell, William Bryce is no small feat either. That one's
No,
becoming one of the most electric environments I've seen.
for
I was
sure.
I was there last year with the LSU game, and which you got robbed, by the way.
Yeah, yep.
I felt like if that game were at night, there's no way South Carolina would have lost it.
I mean that, and I think if we have a different
And
different refereeing crew,
yeah, I may need another beer on that one. Yeah, I think y'all got a bad job there, man. Uh,
yeah.
well,
Yeah, that was tough, and that's as I just mentioned, like we just talked with Nick Umanor, who had the pick six, would have
mhm,
sealed the whole game, and he's like, yeah, man, he's like, I didn't sleep that night, like none of our team, like we didn't sleep that night, we were just so pissed off because they win that game, I think that
yeah,
gives them a little bit more confidence. They should have beat Alabama,
yeah.
but even if they lose Alabama, they beat LSU, they make the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, they almost made, I felt like they should have made it last year, even with that resume that they had, because honestly, I look at that LSU game more as a tie than I do a win or a loss. It should have been a win, but I just hate when it comes down to officials. But yeah,
I,
here's
yeah,
to
it's-
a
yeah.
game should never come down to officiate. That if that doesn't make you want to drink some cold beer, but hey, brother, if they're making a movie right now and they said, hey, they came up to you as executive says, hey, brother, I got an idea. We're going to do a film based on you. Who's who's the actor that's playing Garcia? And more importantly, what scene are you making sure they leave in, even though the corporate office says there's no way we could put this on film?
Oh shit. I, I I don't want any of those freaking pedophiles in Hollywood reenacting my life.
Okay.
I'd rather do it myself. But I mean, there's man, you've been asking some good
I know.
questions.
Yeah, just
Shit that I've never been asked before. To be honest, man, I'm an open book, man, and I
yeah,
don't I don't hide behind, what I did in the past. It is what it is. So as far as scenes that should be left out or kept in, leave the whole thing, man. I generally don't give a shit.
yeah,
Life goes on, and you know, I obviously have regrets that I wish I would have made better choices and done something different every now and then. But for the most part, man, it is what it is.
yeah, yeah. No, and that's why I like about you, man. You don't hide behind, and that's one thing you're going to notice in this podcast world. There's some folks that are afraid to say this because it'll offend this, or and that's
Oh,
one thing I feel like with me and Mike, it's like it is what it is. If you don't like it, then don't listen. I feel like that's what the
exactly.
people want to hear. So
100%, man. And you know, uh, we had Melvin Ingram, Pharaoh Cooper, and DJ Swearinger on when they got inducted to the South Carolina Hall of Fame, and I was wearing a shirt that said FJB. Um, I'm sure you can use that acronym and figure out. It had to do with the
yeah,
previous administration.
yeah,
Um, and University of South Carolina, they actually produce and edit our content for the show, and they had to blur it out because they didn't want to offend people. And I'm like, "Are you shitting me?" But you can have a shirt that says, "Kill so and so." Like it's
yeah.
the
That's
hypocrisy is unbelievable.
It is, but you do your own thing. You could do your own thing, and
Yeah, and that's why we got to YouTube. It's like, man, I'm not dealing with that shit anymore. Because people want to hear like real conversations. They
yeah,
don't want to if they want to hear the politically correct deal. They'll just watch ESPN or watch a regular journalist type deal. I'm not doing that. I want to hear who the hell you are, why you do what you do, why that's what normal people want to hear.
yeah. That's exactly right. I mean, they want to have a real conversation, not just cliff notes. So,
Right.
and again, I'm not trying to hit you with the hard questions, but this is one I really am interested in.
Oh God.
It's just
Do
it's
I, do I need do I need to throw a little
no,
dippity doo dive here?
yeah, yeah. What do you got there?
Yeah. This is a good
What do you-
time for that, right?
yeah, what do you got there? What is that? What are you
This is
representing
called
there?
yeah, it's called rack. We have a little
Yeah,
a little 6 milligram.
come on now.
Yeah, whitetail smokeless, man. It's these guys. I don't know how they found me. They found me and hooked me up, and yeah,
Did,
I was usually a Zen guy, but this thing
yeah.
takes a shit on Zen.
I think I need to check it out. I was a smoker. I smoked cigarettes for a long, long time, and I got hit 2020 when the old COVID rolled in, and I was like, "Hey, all these fat people dying. I need to get off this cigarette stuff." So I put it up. But man, there's sometimes you get a cold beer, you want a little nicotine. So
Oh
I'll
yeah,
have to check it out, man.
I'll tell you what. I'm looking at those. You can ask that question here in a second. I'm just checking out your bourbon you got back there.
Oh, buddy, yeah,
That's
come
a
on
that's
over.
a that's a pretty good little stash you got.
Well, I'll tell you, I got a lot of this from Kentucky because they suck at football, and we had an ongoing bet with some boys up there that if we win, Tennessee wins because they got rid of the beer barrel, and I understand at the time why that was a big deal, but it's 2025. It's I think one of the coolest, ball games that you could have out there, and handed back and forth the beer barrel seems like they should bring it back. Well, they have it. So we do a bourbon bet. So if Tennessee wins, I will get a bottle of bourbon sent to me from Kentucky. And if Tennessee loses, which isn't often, I will send them a bottle of Tennessee whiskey. So you can see I've got a nice now. Now they're
I
not
like it.
answering their call. Since Heupel got up there, nobody's wanting the bet anymore.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Shit, Pruitt was in town. They were lined up, but But hey, I want to ask you, Clemson obviously is a team you hate, but excluding Clemson, while you were in South Carolina, which team did you hate the most? Which one did you just absolutely hate playing every year?
Oh God, that's I didn't really hate playing against anybody, to be honest with you. I mean, I actually I do I got a great answer for you. Walford, I hated playing Walford. I hated playing Navy. Hated playing Vanderbilt
Mm-hmm.
because these guys they'd run the little triple option bullshit and they'd have 8 to 10, 15 minute drives, and I'm sitting there on the sideline like, God almighty, man, we know you're gonna punt or gonna kick a field goal or just get it over with, man. But I mean, it was frustrating because it's like, all right, now we get the ball back. We got a couple minutes. Let's go down, and try to bomb it, and score a touchdown. Um, but yeah,
did you,
those. But I
did
didn't
you
hate it. I love playing against Tennessee and Florida and Arkansas, all those guys, Georgia. That I mean, there's nothing better than going into an opposing team's stadium and beating
yeah.
their ass. I mean, there's not a better feeling.
Did the old ball coach, did you notice a little extra pep in his step when he played a certain team?
For sure.
Which one?
Florida, Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, yeah,
What was it
absolutely.
like prepping for a Florida South Carolina
Oh,
game?
God, hell. It was, I mean, he was a pain in the ass to deal with anyway, as I'm
Yeah,
sure I was too for him. But yeah, I mean, Florida, like everybody's walking on eggshells. Like, he wasn't a strict like time guy. It's
yeah,
like, the meeting started at 2 o'clock. You show up around 1:58. He's not going to bust your balls.
yeah.
Um, but like Florida, if you're not there by like 1:40, 1:45, your ass is gonna get in. You're gonna get in trouble.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, yeah. Florida was definitely on edge.
What so it tightened up. I would imagine he had a little short list of teams he hated. Lord knows Tennessee hated him over there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
South Carolina, it was never really a rivalry. It never felt like, but when Spurrier was there, it sure as shit felt like one. It felt like we were doing the Florida games again.
100%. I mean, that's the thing. He played at Florida, won a Heisman at Florida,
Yeah,
coached at Florida for God only knows how long, won a national title. And I'll tell you one thing about him: he will say what he is on his mind.
yeah.
And that's one thing I definitely respect him on. Look, listen, we have a great relationship now.
Hmm.
His wife still sends my kids Christmas presents and birthday cards, and still sends me a box full of cookies every now and then. And they're really good people. It was just really hard to play for them,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I mean, when you're in the SEC that long, you're bound to create some enemies. And what do you say? You can't spell Citrus Bowl without UT. Wasn't that his
Yeah,
his thing?
easy, easy. This ain't about the balls now. It's about you. But I always wonder, because he's from here. He's
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Science Hill, I believe, is the high school that we went to. His field's terrible, but still, you see his name plastered everywhere, and you're just like, man, he just absolutely hates Tennessee. So, but what was it like though? I mean, what people always tagged him as a quarterback whisperer. I mean, was it how close was that relationship, or did you work with him like maybe more than others, or how? Just what was the dynamic when you were working with Steve Spurrier?
Everybody thinks he's the QB guru, and
Yeah.
to be honest, he was 100%, 100% way before his time. The
Mhm.
fun, the gun run, all the other stuff, 100% before his time. That being said, we didn't. I was actually talking with a guy who I trained, who just graduated Holy Cross. He's in the transfer portal now, trying to figure out. And we're sitting there kind of like going over film and stuff, and he's sitting there telling me shit that I don't even know. I'm like, dude, I'm 36 years old. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. He's like, Spurrier never told you about this? I was like, no. Coach Spurrier never went over any sort of over under fronts. He didn't went over go blitz packages, coverages. He didn't go over any of that. It was like, this is the offense we're running. This is guy who's going to be open. Throw it to this guy. And but he was very old school, holding the ball way up here and throwing like a punch, trying to throw. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that. You didn't recruit me to throw the ball like that. I'm not doing that. So I
he
mean,
just he
right off the bat, like he did the whole time he was recruiting me, he's like, I like your beard, I like your long hair, keep it, it's not a big deal. I graduate early. I go up there in January, the first workout. He's like, "Hey, all right, Garcia, when are you gonna shave and cut your hair?" I'm like, I'm not. I'm not doing it." He's like, "Ah, yeah, you will, you will." I was like, no, I'm not at all. So yeah, I'm a hard-headed guy, but he was equally as hard-headed, and I mean, it was a constant battle, man. But and
Yeah.
I tell my son this, I tell the quarterbacks that I train this, I tell anybody that would listen. I wish that's my only regret. I wish I wasn't so damn hard-headed.
Yeah.
Like if he would have just said to just shave your head or shave your beard, cut your hair, just do it. It's hair, it'll grow back.
Yeah.
He tells me to wear golf attire like when I'm going to class. Just do it, and instead of
Yeah.
wearing like basketball pants. Just simple stuff like that, man. I would have alleviated so much freaking headaches and battles with him.
But that's just a sign of getting older, I think. I've got a teenage
That's
daughter
true.
drive me freaking nuts. She went in for an application, didn't get hired, comes back with a nose ring. I'm like, did you wear that inside? She goes, well, yeah. And I was like, and you're wondering why they didn't call you back,
Oh, jeez.
So, geez, I was like, damn, that's dad mode right there. But I got a lot of texts when they found out you were coming. I mean, a lot of folks reached out and said, hey, you got to ask him this, you got to ask this. I got one that is really puzzled somebody, and I said, oh, okay, fine, I'll ask him when he gets on here. Did you get kicked out of SEC Media Days?
No,
No. Okay. All right.
no.
Somebody said that there was some turmoil or something happened, and
I
you
know
got
what
it.
they're referring to. It was not SEC Media Days.
Oh, okay.
I
All
I
right.
actually, as a player, is listen. I was a 3-year captain of this team, 3-year starter, 3.5-year starter. Never got invited to go to SEC Media Days, the official
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yeah.
Which, because I know Coach Spurrier knew that I was going to say whatever the hell I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Um, so, but yeah, so I did get kicked out of. It was like an SEC mandated player kind of. I don't know what the hell they called it, but
Okay.
it was one of our linemen's 21st birthday, our starting right tackle. So we're out there and we're celebrating.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't getting crazy, but just having like Crown and Coca, I think is what we were drinking. And so we go to this meeting, and this is like when, do you remember the Charlie Sheen when he was talking all crazy in the media?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So it was our athletic director's wife was in there. Eric Hyman was his name. Mrs. Hyman was the person. She's like, all right, guys, this is closed door meeting. This is with all the guys in here. You guys say whatever you want. Like, nothing's gonna get out. You guys kind of tell like, what your feeling are. And then they started talking about like the Charlie Sheen and how he's ruining his image. I was like, why is he ruining his image? Like, who gives a shit? He's talking about Tiger Blood and this other, like, who the hell cares? It's his life. I guess they were saying that I was being like obnoxious or like interrupting the meeting. And I'm like, well, it's a closed door meeting. Nobody else is saying a damn thing. Like, what? Everybody else is on their phones or dicking around. Like, you have to talk about feelings. I'm letting you know. And anyways, long story short, yeah, they were like, all right, Steven, you got to get the hell out of here. I was like, all right, good, great.
Oh,
Went to a little Mexican restaurant and had a couple of margaritas and just chilled.
hey, you may have had the best plan there, so I
Oh,
guarantee.
100%. Until the next
Oh,
day, and they were like, "Yeah, you're suspended again." I was like, "God dang, can't get away with
no,
shit over here."
no, man, they're a little. I mean, if that's what you get suspended for, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot
Mi-
of
mind
places
you,
you.
mind you, I'm 22 years old at this time. This is my senior year. Like I
Yeah,
wasn't, I
yeah,
I wasn't underage doing this. So
yeah. You're a grown ass man, so.
yeah, it's like I
um,
got, I got a 4-year-old at this time.
Well, I
Yeah.
got last question I got for you. I heard your boy is better than you are, and do you think he'll enjoy playing at Tennessee?
I would love nothing more. I would love nothing more for them to do that.
Hey,
Trust me, man.
brother.
I've sent Coach Beamer, the tape and all these coaches. I've sent his tape, and it's like wherever he wants to go, he's
Yeah,
go. I'll be a fan there.
that's awesome, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you having some cold beers with me. Before you go, can you tell the audience how can they find the man, the myth, the legend?
uh, yeah, I'm on Twitter, Instagram. I don't really use TikTok a whole lot, but yeah, just at Steven Garcia with a PH, SDPHEN, Garcia.
Hell yeah, brother.